Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome one and all. Mighty Wind flying solo for the time being.
Good morning, welcome one and all.
In fact, we'll just get that turned down straight away. Hey, yes, Eddie, press conference this morning for the Tottenham Hotspur Carabao Cup game. And we've got, who've we got? Two nut in the building already. And anyway, get on with the housework, folks. If you like what you see, like, share, subscribe. I don't know why I'm solo this morning, but we'll get onto that later on, no doubt. Today, as I say, we've got Eddie's press conference, Carabao Cup, a lot of debate about the team that we should be playing in terms of rotation. Hit the like button, folks. Keep we going. And we have a special announcement to make, which is straight after the presser at 10:30. We will be debuting our new show with friend of the channel, Jamie, and Hutch and Simon, giving their first... this is a recorded show, which is unusual for us. Nearly everything we do is live, so you can all interact, but this one, there'll be no interaction, I don't think. But anyway, I'm looking forward to watching it, because the title of the thumbnail, if you've seen it already, stick around for it at 10:30. We need to throw the cup. And that is a sentiment that I vehemently disagree with. As far as I'm concerned, we are not yet part of the elite establishment who have multi-billion pound squads that can decide to treat the Carabao Cup with disdain. We all know what that cup meant to us last season. And maybe, hopefully, fingers crossed, in years to come, we'll be winning that much silverware that the Carabao Cup only begins to matter when it could be part of a quadruple, as Sit There found to their chagrin not so long ago. But I think we are a long way away from that yet, thanks to the constraints that have been placed upon us by PSR and the like, the other alphabet soup of handcuffs that we've been wearing for a long, long time now, since the takeover, in fact. Your pregnant win, says Colton. It says Connor. Pregnant. I am a bit caught by surprise, because I was expecting one of my colleagues to be here. I normally don't have to handle all the controls, so he is hoping that when we get onto the presser itself, we'll be okay for that one, and that we don't have any of the problems sometimes that we encounter getting the feed from the club. But what did he just say? We need to win that cup. We do. Well, I think we do need to. Well, I'm saying it would be nice to win it. We need to try and get as far as we can. And with home draws, I don't see any reason why we should not be progressing. You know, with what this one match gets us straight into the quarterfinals, and anything can happen from there. Two-legged semis, as we know, and it's all additional games, which is part of the. I can understand the sentiment saying, you know, we could do without these extra games, especially as we currently stand with our depleted squad. And there could be an argument, I suppose, for saying, let's put the second string on. If they get beat, they get beat. No great loss. And if they win, then by the time we get to the next game, the injury situation might be better. We'll have Hall back, Livermento back, Wissa back, presumably, hopefully fit and firing. And if that's the case, then we will obviously be in a better state of mind, state of physical presence, in fact, to tackle the quarter final. What a horrible title! Aha! Which is that we need to throw the cup for the 10:30 show? Yeah, well, it's not what it's not my sentiment at all. But it's going to be an interesting watch, that's for sure. So make sure you tune in for that one. I can't wait. We've got in the chat now, we've got Geordie away, man. We've got Connard, I've said. We've got Corey Dean. What a horrible title. That was you, Corey, was it? All right. The Mighty Win and the Mighty Quinn. Both two mags. We've got the Mighty Quinn in the building, like, yeah, we've got Malcolm Peacock, morning all. Anthony Ford, morning. If you've got any particular point you'd like to make, just stick a question mark or a Q in front so we can see what. And if you want to have it definitely read out, of course, give us a super chat, help the channel keep going, and prove that we are being appreciated for what we're doing here, getting up at ungodly hours of the morning to bring you content, as we always do. Where are we here? We've got silence, deadly. Can't have silence. Give me something to talk about in the chat. When can you show us Miley's stats from the Fulham game again? Miley's stats. Are you being sarcastic because the ones I put up were last year's? I can certainly get them up for this year's. 2 secs. Miley, because he didn't have as good a game on Saturday as he did in the previous match. What's results? And Graham C. Travel is saying we play the best team in all games to win. We aren't that arrogant to pick and choose which games we throw. We're not the attitude of those so-called Big Six. We are Newcastle United. Well, I agree with you, Graham Travels. And Miley's stats. Where are we? Very slow today. So oh, wait a minute. There we go. And he was actually the lowest rated on the pitch. 24 out of 27, but as we saw in Gary's map, they were all sideways. 9 out of 11 completed passes in the opposition half, and 15 out of 16 in his own half. No block shots, no clearing. 2 recoveries, 0 ground duels won, and 1 out of 2 aerial duels won, and errors leading to shot 1. So total touches 35, which says it all. That was what I noticed. He was just invisible for me. Whether that was because Bruno and J7 were having particularly active games or what, I don't know. Whether it was because the rest of the team choose not to necessarily put him under pressure, with him being 19 or whatever he is now, 19 I think it is now. It could be that, but he certainly didn't have the game that he had against, who was it, Benfica? Colton is saying, my thoughts, Spuds are concerning on the Premier League and beat Spuds tomorrow. Yeah, they're third in the Prem. They're doing very well. And Sheila Little is saying, throw the... Oh, no, I was going to say, Sheila, I'm surprised at you. Throw the cup, eh? Nah, never going to do that. Not in our DNA, says Sheila. Sensible Monica. Rotation is not about arrogance. It's a practical solution to protecting key players from injury. Once the manager picks his priority competition, he rotates accordingly. Prioritise the Premier League and the Champions League. So, Sensible Monica is all for rotation. Corey's saying, I've got a lot of good stories, but not suitable for broadcasting, unfortunately. What's my outlook for tomorrow's game? I think we will make changes, but I don't think they will be wholesale changes. I think we'll probably, and we'll almost certainly bring Ramsdale in for Pope, probably Kraft in for Trips. Depending on Botman's state of play, it could well be Burn left centre back and give young Murphy a try at left back. So we can rest Trippier and Burn. And after that, the most I would bring in midfield is one. And I think with Miley getting his go and not really shining on Saturday, I would give Ramsey a try. Maybe this time can we risk? If you're risking Bruno, you're taking away a lot of our, 80% of our creativity. So can we expect to get that out of Ramsey? I'm not so sure. I'm just going to have a quick look at if anything's happening in the briefing room yet. It doesn't appear to be. So we're okay there so far. And we're going to get that lined up. Give me 2 seconds, folks. There we go. That's all just about ready to go when we need to. This is Sensible Monitor saying rotation. Oh, no, sorry, we've done that one. Dom Viers, you can't wait to see the game tomorrow. Last time I was at the game. Oh, well, you're coming to the game. Tino fell over the Wolves keeper to score. Don't know if I can remember that one. Tino, I'm thinking Tonali. I'm thinking Tonali against Wolves. Yes, it was a wonderful run to get him there in the first place, wasn't it? Wonderful run to get him there in the first place, and then he just sort of, I don't know, we debated that at the time. Was it intentional or was it not? A debate. Let's have your... if you can remember the incident, he ran through from midfield, fantastic run, and somehow ended up right in front of the goal, and it just sort of all happened in slow motion, and anyway the ball ended up in the net and we all went berserk. I think that was a 3-0 game, wasn't it, when we won 3-0, but it was anything but it was a 3-0 scoreline, but anything but a 3-0 game. NUFC is strong in midfield, and our games go one of two ways. We do go strong or rotate. Not sure what you're saying there, Gossie's saying. Are you saying we should or we shouldn't? We'll never know unless we put Ramsey in that position. I think it's worth a punt, says Hells. And I think it could be right. I think we've got to... We cannot expect... I mean, Bruno has missed two games of any description since he came to the club. And you cannot... Or can you? Because Big Dan's just about done the same. Can you expect them to continue to put that sort of how long has it been since we won a club? Whoa, it's about 9 months, I think. 9 months to be exact. Not 70 years anymore, that's for sure. Steve Waldo, surely Ramsey, Tonali, Maley would be decent in midfield. Rest Bruno and J7. Well, you could argue that it should be. You can absolutely argue that it should be. But if you try that and it doesn't work, you come unstuck because you don't get another chance in the cup. It's not like the league. If I'm going to rotate, I'm rotating against West Ham in the Premier League, because this season they've been poor, and so I would rather chance me arm there, have some decent subs on the bench, and let's see what happens. Anyway, considering Spurs' injuries, they don't have many options for rotating. I think it'll be a strong side they put out. So do I. It'll not be the side they put out against Newcastle Rovers, which a lot of people are hoping for, I think. Ramsdale, Ramsey and Maley in strong bench. Yeah, that's. I wouldn't mind changing a couple at the back either, Roger, to be fair. Just wanted to see you smile. Yeah. Takes nothing to make me smile. Takes nothing to make us smile, nothing to make us cry. West Ham has to be 3 points. It does have to be 3 points. But I think we could get 3 points anyway. So, see with that midfield against West Ham, Tonali, Maley, Ramsey, I think that could get 3 points against West Ham. International games so strong, and that's the other aspect of it all, Geordie, is that. Oh, wait a minute, here we go. We have got Eddie in the building. I'll catch you later, folks.
You all right? Oh, yeah.
Are you in okay?
You all right, Craig?
Yeah, Craig. Morning, everyone. Welcome back. Same order as usual. Start with Razor, please.
Morning, Eddie. Firstly, can we check on Sven Botman, please, after that head injury the other day? Is he okay, and can he play against Spurs this week?
Yeah, so as I said after the game, no concussion. It was a cut, quite a nasty looking cut for Sven. I think he had it stapled together. So he didn't train yesterday, so we'll see how he is today.
Looking at other players that you've been without in recent weeks, I think going off your previous comments, Lewis Hall might well be the closest to returning. Is there any chance that he could be in the squad tomorrow or possibly this weekend?
Yeah, he is the closest. Now this game will come too quickly for him, so we'll see how he is for West Ham.
Obviously, you don't have too many options for fullback positions necessarily at the moment, but in other areas you do seem as though you have quite a lot of selection decisions you could make. Is tomorrow night again about balancing the importance of the competition with maybe making some changes and giving players some minutes?
Yeah, I think it's an important decision that I've got coming up for this game, because we want to progress. Competition means a lot to us, current holders, etc. So we don't want to give that up easily. But I have to trust the squad as well, and we've got some very good players that need football and need an opportunity to show their talents and what they can bring the squad. So I think there'll be an element of that, but yeah, as I said, I've got to try and get the balance right.
And no less important to you this season, even though you have Champions League football as well. But what's it like going between 3 different competitions, Europe, back to the Premier League, and now returning to the League Cup?
I have to say we're really enjoying it. I love the different focuses that those competitions bring, the different challenges. Really love this competition, as I said earlier. So I think it's love preparing football matches and love the experience of managing. So from my perspective, it's fine. From the players' perspective, I think they feel the same way. I think they've got in a good groove and rhythm of knowing that this season is just going to be about playing, then resting, and then preparing again for the next game. Very limited training. But yeah, so the different focuses, I think, is a good thing, and we want to stay in as many competitions as we can.
After the win at the weekend, there was a lot of praise for William Osula from you and also from supporters. I'm not sure it was ever clear quite what happened on transfer deadline day. Would you be willing to talk about that, and just how close was he actually to leaving with interest from at least one other club?
Yeah, I think it was well documented. It was quite close for him that he could have left in a variety of ways, whether that was loan, which was always our preference, because I think from our view we wanted Will to play. We wanted him to continue his development, which he did brilliantly last year, because I think he committed to a path of limited game time but big training time. A lot of work with, as I said after the game, Graham Jones, a lot of reviewing his performances, then a lot of putting work into action. And the next step for me was for him to try and play regularly. So that was the aim, and especially with us bringing 2 strikers in, the thought was that he could continue that development best in him on the football pitch. Obviously, it didn't happen, and much to our relief, it didn't happen, because obviously Johan picked up an injury, and Will's vitally important. We believe in his talents. You know, he's got his speed. I think you could see that when he came on the pitch the other day. I mean, he's quick, he's athletic, but also I think what he's added is just through the continued attitude he's added to his training, a lot now of better know-how now, you know, in terms of how to manage game situations. And he's benefited from that, and he's coming on the pitch looking like the complete package.
Thanks, Fraser. Keith?
Eddie, do you think that I was going to say the goal, it wasn't his goal, but he obviously got a lot of the plaudits for it. Do you think that can be a bit of a launch pad for Will moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. I think every time he's come on the pitch this season, he's performed, and I think that's given them further belief for the next appearance. As I said, he's nursing an ankle injury, which again, I think he's showing real maturity. I don't know if he could have necessarily done it in the way that he's managed it this season, last year. So he's limited training time. He's not little things, it's a big thing. He's not finishing at the moment in training because his ankle's too sore. So we're having to navigate through that while keeping him available, because that's his big wish, is to continue to help the team.
What's he like behind the scenes? Because we see a lot of his social media activity. He seems a lively character, and he seems like he kind of gets everyone going at times. Yeah,
I'm not party to them. I haven't seen them, so you might be able to tell me a bit more. I think the Will that I know is that great personality, a real zest for life, always laughing, joking, popular in the dressing room. Certainly got very close friendships. But I think what's changed probably more this year than last is he's very serious about his work. So when it's work time, he puts on a different face and is very serious about his development and about his game, which I think's been a positive, slight change. I think he was positive, serious last year, but I think we've seen a more mature Will this year with his work, and I think he's benefited from that.
When you look back at this competition over the last 3 years, it's been emotional for you, I suppose, in all different ways, getting to the final and losing, and then of course the Chelsea defeat on penalties. I know it hurt you at the time, and then winning it last year, it's brought you a lot of different emotions since you arrived at the club, hasn't it?
Yeah, a lot of great experiences, this competition for us. As you say, the final was an amazing thing. Still remember vivid memories from that day before the game, and then obviously the emotions after the game were mainly negative, because I felt we left a little bit on the pitch that day. The Chelsea defeat was still painful for me because I felt we had a real chance to win that competition that year. But we put it right and did really well last year. A lot of challenging games. I mean, you look back at our fixture list to get to the final. I always say this: it wasn't by luck that we won that competition. We had to beat Chelsea in the early rounds, and that was a tough game, and so on. And of course, Arsenal in the semi-final. So yeah, a lot of great experiences for us, which I think's helped us as a team, helped us grow.
And I wonder what sort of appetite last year's given you. The celebrations, the open top bus tour, the scenes on the town moor afterwards. What sort of appetite is that giving you to go and do it again and defend it?
Yeah, I think there's a real resolve around the squad to try and do that. But I think when we go back through all the experiences we've had in the competition, you realise that the early rounds, and we're still in the early rounds this year, are so important. And I know it's a cliche because it's a knockout competition, of course they are, but finding a way to get through. And we did that several times in really difficult games where it could have gone either way. A couple of penalty shootouts in there which fell our way. So however we do it, it's just about getting your name in the hat for the next round. And this will be a really tough game tomorrow. We're up against a very good team. We're in good form away from home. So I think this is a bigger challenge as we've had.
Thank you. Adam?
Hi, Eddie. This will be the fourth Spurs manager you faced in your 4 years with Newcastle. Do you prefer kind of the build-up of facing a new managerial opponent every time, or do you like the rivalry kind of build-up with someone like Guardiola or Arteta?
I don't really think about it, to be honest. I think it's you're playing the team. You're not necessarily playing against the manager. I understand the question because I think with certain managers you get a repetition of how they play and you sort of understand what they're trying to do. But we've come up against Thomas's teams a lot historically with Brentford. I think he's made a really positive start to life at Tottenham. And you can see his imprint on the team already, whether that be set plays have been very successful. Open play, they've got a lot of things that they do that were similar to Brentford. So I think, a good game for us, a really tough game, but one we look forward to.
You mentioned your rivalry with Thomas Frank. You've only lost to him once in 7 games. What have you come to expect from him tactically?
Tactically, very interesting, very versatile coach. He'll build up in lots of different ways. Very aggressive off the ball, I'd say, predominantly. They have their different ways of trying to make that happen in the game and set plays. I think they're very, very well organised ultimately, and I think set plays is probably the biggest guider of that. When you watch a team, everyone knows their roles. They're very efficient both for and against. So credit to him and his coaching staff for what they're doing.
Thanks, Alan. Damien?
Hi, Eddie. Just going back to Willis Sula, when we talk amongst ourselves about the impact he's had in his cameos, one of the words that comes up in a positive sense all the time is chaos. Do you think he brings a bit of chaos when he comes on with his pace and his power and the way he plays?
Yeah, I think sometimes that's a real weapon for a striker to have. Chaos is, I don't know if I'd necessarily describe it at that, but it's all energy, it's all action. And I think that was the big difference he made against Fulham for us. I think his first couple of actions, he sort of jumped from player to player, initiating the press. We've then backed him up, and it's got the crowd involved. It's changed the energy on the pitch, and it's created a positive outcome for us. So we encourage him to do that. He's got all the physical attributes to do it, and I think he's an incredible athlete. Something we can work on him more is obviously he's doing cameos at the moment. We'd love him to be able to sustain that for longer, which is very difficult. But he's got the physical capabilities of delivering that, I think.
And just on Nick, at the weekend he seemed to get quite frustrated that he looked like he was being wrestled all over the place and not getting free kicks. Do you think because of his physical size that he's perhaps not getting a fair go from referees?
I think there was one or two looking at the weekend that I think were fouls that weren't given. Yeah, I think that's fair to say, and I think Nick felt the same way. But I think Nick's going to have to come up with all sorts of different challenges from defenders, however they see best to defend against him. Some might go aggressive, some might go a little bit more withdrawn, but he needs to find a solution to figure out how best to play against that, and we'll help him with that. So I think he's going to face a lot of different challenges this season because it's all new to him. But I think that'll be a learning experience for the Fulham game for him.
Thank you. We'll go to Jordan, Craig and Joe, please.
Morning, Eddie. You mentioned on Friday about Tino Laurento being back on the grass. Is there a chance that he could return earlier than expected? I think you mentioned end of November initially.
No, I'd say he's still on track. I think the 2-week international break sort of dictates that he won't be able to bring that forward by 2 weeks. I think we're looking at the Manchester City game for him as a penciled-in date for hopefully that he can be available for. But he's doing well. He feels really good. There's no adverse reaction to his injury. So positive signs for Tino and for Lewis and for Johan at the minute. They're all on track for their respective returns.
Yeah, you mentioned we're potentially getting closer to the return that you mentioned for Johan Wissa. Could that be against West Ham on Sunday or next week against Bilbao or Brentford or potentially even after the international break? A lot of
games there, isn't there?
Just thought I'd name them.
You've named them all. I don't know. It's very difficult for me to give a sort of a game for Johan. Johan's in a different boat to the other two because he's coming from further back fitness-wise. He's been out longer. Lewis's return will be quite, touch wood, will be quite quick, in the sense that once he's fit and available, he'll be back involved with the group. Same with Tino, really. Johan, he's still on track, but we need to make sure that he's gone through sort of a mini pre-season with us as well.
Thank you. Greg?
Morning, Eddie. I just want to take you inside the debate I had with a couple of Newcastle fans yesterday, and then it started again in here this morning. We just want sort of your take on it. It was with regards to 3 home fixtures you had and the importance of them compared to each other. You've had a Champions League, a Premier League and a Carabao Cup. Now my take was that the one tomorrow night is the most important because you've got the memory of what happened last season, and there's something about the timing of the Carabao Cup in the fixture calendar that can almost fuel a season, whereas you've got more time to recover from Premier League. Now, I know you will say that, they're all as important as each other, but can you just take us into that debate as a coach, Champions League versus Premier League versus Carabao Cup, in terms of how you perhaps do rate them with regards importance or what they can do for a season?
I'm sure it was a fascinating debate that you had. I'd love to have been part of that one. Yeah, I think it's a difficult one to prioritise games or to think that one's more important than the other. I think, we recognise the importance of this game, and we have done. Historically, when you go back, as I say, the Chelsea game always sticks in my mind because it's a similar type of game to this one. Really tough match. I thought we played with a great attitude that night, and the attitude carried us through to the next round. And obviously, what happened afterwards was that result was really significant to me. But you go back to the Premier League games. Every Premier League game we're having at the moment is of huge importance because we're coming from further back than we want to. The Champions League, you can't miss a game because if you miss a game in that competition, before you blink, you can leave yourself too much to do. So you can see where I'm going with it. They all take equal importance, and now the next game that's in our eye line, that takes priority over everything.
Thank you for entering the debate.
Pleasure.
With regards to Carabao Cup versus the FA Cup as well, is there something about the Carabao Cup that it does feel more important in the context of a season? The FA Cup comes a little bit later, the final is after the season's finished. There's something about the Carabao Cup that does benefit from its place in the calendar. Do you feel that with regard to its impact on a season compared to the FA Cup?
I think the timing is unique. So, as you say, the FA Cup is staggered later on in the season, and I think depending on how your season's going, the feel of that competition is different. I think because this is so early in the season, there's a fresh energy to it, and you're trying to build momentum in your season in that moment. So, these rounds are important to boost everyone's feeling and energy as you enter the season. The FA Cup is something we want to do better in. We haven't done well enough in recent seasons, so that is a target for us too.
Thank you. Joe?
Hi, Eddie. You've beaten 5 of the so-called Big 6 clubs in this competition over the last 3 years. How much does that say to the talent in your squad and their ability to step up at the big moments and the big matches?
Yeah, we've stepped up really well in this competition. We need to, obviously the challenge for us is, I think we need to do that more often. It's easier said than done, but we need to do that more often in the Premier League and in various other competitions too. The games against Arsenal were 2 really high profile, big moments for us, and I thought we navigated those 2 games brilliantly. And it showed that we have the capability to win away from home in the big moment. As I say, the frustration, we haven't done that well enough in the Premier League. So I think what it does is it proves to us all that we can do it. Now consistency is absolutely crucial.
And just on Jacob Ramsey, he's someone who's obviously had the injury a couple of months ago. What does he have to do to force himself into your starting 11?
I think Jacob is doing well. I think he's in a good place. I think he'll have benefited from the couple of outings that he's had recently. The big thing for him at the moment is being physically at his best. If he is, then his technical qualities will shine.
Thank you. Go to Ian, Lee and then Louise, please.
Morning, Eddie.
Morning.
On a similar theme to what Craig was saying, 12 months ago you talked about how desperate you were to win silverware for this club. How desperate are you to retain the League Cup, and do you think it will give you as much pleasure to retain it as it did to win it first time?
Yeah, absolutely. That feeling was incredible. And I think one of the big drivers once you've experienced that is you want it again, and you want it again as quickly as possible. So we don't have unlimited opportunities for that. So this is one of those chances to go far in a competition, to go deep, and to try and repeat the experience. But these early rounds are really, really difficult. This will be a tough game. As I said earlier, Tottenham's away form is very, very strong. So in some senses, I think that's a good thing for us. It sharpens our minds. It leaves us in no uncertain terms what we have to do.
Again, on a similar theme, you clearly aren't prioritising competitions. You want to win them all. There will be many managers, possibly even Thomas Frank, who is battling on four fronts like yourselves. They might be prioritising competitions with the League Cup maybe fourth in the pecking order. Do you think that might give Newcastle an advantage over their opponents?
I can only speak what we're doing. I can't speak what other managers are doing. I think that would be foolish of me to even try. So I just think from our viewpoint, having been here before, having trying to navigate the early rounds, which are very difficult, we'll try and do that again to the best of our ability.
Thank you. Lee?
Eddie, on the sort of prize money you get for various competitions, the League Cup is 100,000 if you win it. If you win one Champions League game, you get 1.8 million. I know that's not your department, but did that day at Wembley prove that it sometimes is not just about money for any sportsman, because the joy on the faces of the players pretty much said it all that day?
I can assure you the money's the last thing in the players' minds when they're competing. You're just competing to try and win. I wasn't actually aware of the numbers you were giving out there. That's how much attention I pay to it, because it's about just trying to be the best you can be on a consistent basis. And if there's a game in front of us, we'll try our best to win.
And going back to the start of your time as manager, there's a Matt Ritchie interview in The Guardian talking about the day you came in and started talking about cups. At this club, the cups pretty much were dismissed by previous ownership. Are you surprised that that approach was ever taken? I know Premier League survival used to be the thing, but again, with a sporting head on, going out of a competition would never do anything for morale, would it?
Yeah, it's very difficult for me to comment on what happened before I got here, and I won't even begin to try. Nice to hear Matt Ritchie's name pop up. I mean, what an unbelievable servant to this football club that he was. And he's someone that used to create culture, and I think these games that we're going into tomorrow are all about your culture and your will to win from your squad. So if we can harness a bit of Matt Ritchie's spirit and take that into the game, that will help us.
Thank you. Louise?
Morning, Eddie. How did winning the trophy last season change you as a person? I mean, do you feel more relaxed or...?
I laugh because I think if anyone who knows me will go, that's certainly not the case. I'm not more relaxed. I don't think it has changed me necessarily, but I think it's maybe made the desire to win even stronger, because having gone through the experience of winning and the high that you get and seeing the joy in everyone, whether that be the players, the supporters, the owners, seeing how that united the city in the celebrations, that can only make you want to experience that more. So I don't think necessarily my will to win is stronger or my will to prepare is stronger. I think that was as strong as it could be anyway, but you'd just love to go through that again.
And talking of changes, your substitutions in the last two games against Benfica and Fulham have changed the game the right way. when Sandro Tonali came on, particularly against Fulham, that seemed to really sort of alter the dynamic of the team. Did that emphasise just how very important he is?
Yeah, absolutely. I always think when it's an interesting one when you talk about subs changing the game and the manager gets credit. For me, it's always about the players. If you're bringing good players on, but most importantly, they come on with good attitudes, there's a very good chance they will help your team performance. If you're bringing good players on with bad attitudes, that it won't help your performance at all. So it's all about how the players enter the pitch and what their frame of mind is. So great to see our subs come on with really good energy, knowing the seriousness of the situation that we're in, how important that moment is in our season, and they elevated our performance and got us over the line. So I was delighted with everyone.
Thanks, Louise. Kieran to finish.
Morning. Usually it takes players some time to settle in, even when they have a full pre-season or come from the Premier League. What do you think has been the key for Malik's start at the club?
Well, yeah, I think if you ask Malik, I'd say he had to be a little bit patient at the start. I think Dan and Fabi started the season very, very well in the centre-half positions, and he had a period where he had the opportunity to watch and see the Premier League and see the speed of the Premier League, which I always think is helpful before you enter it, because those early games against Aston Villa and Liverpool were probably the best example you can get of the Premier League's bite, really. And as a centre-half in particular, you can't come on cold. So I think they were useful experiences for him, and then he trained really well. I think that's always the big thing for me. If you're training well behind the scenes and not playing, you know that when that opportunity comes, you can grab it. He kept himself mentally fresh, alert and ready, and then when he's played, I think he's just been himself, and he's an outstanding talent. He's got a little bit of everything in his game, and I've been really pleased with how he started here.
And given his profile, were you pleasantly surprised there wasn't even more competition for him?
Yeah, to a degree. I was sort of fearful through the summer because there wasn't a long list of players that we felt were good enough to come in and have the impact that Malik has. And of course he was playing at a top club as well, so whether he was ever going to be available was unclear. And then if he was available, was there going to be someone else that would be able to get him ahead of us? So thankfully that wasn't the case, and we were able to secure his signature. I think he was an important signing for us.
Okay, thanks everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice to see you.
I've just realised I've been talking to myself I am muted. Thank you, Corey. Oh dear. Right, let's go. Let's start again. So first thing you was asked was about Sven's injury. He said it's not concussion. It's but he has had a deep cut with staples. So as I say, as I said that you didn't hear, with staples in his bonds, I would be very surprised if he was considered for tomorrow night's game. And then several reporters found several different ways to ask him about prioritising the Carabao Cup. Where does it lie in his pantheon of games, sort of thing? And what he said was, winning the cup has made his desire to win even stronger. Having gone through the experience of winning, the high that you get, seeing the joy in everyone, seeing how that united the city in the celebrations, that can only make you want to experience it more. However, he said it is important for this game to make the right decision with regard to team selection, and in particular rotation. He says, we want to progress. The competition means a lot to us. We are the current holders. We don't want to give that up easy. However, I have a squad. I need to try and get the balance right, and there are players who need football. We've had a lot of great experiences in this competition. The first final, the emotions after the games, the Chelsea shootout defeat is still very painful. We had a chance to win the competition that year, but we put it right. We had a lot of tough opponents. We didn't get to the final by luck. That experience and winning the cup has helped us grow as a team. The old monkey off the back syndrome. He was asked about Will Asula role, because I think there's a chance he may start tomorrow night. And of course, he almost went on deadline day in the transfer window. And Eddie said it was well documented that it was quite a close call that he could have left in a variety of ways. A loan was always our preference because in our view, we wanted Will to play. We wanted him to continue his development, which he did brilliantly last year, because he committed to a path of limited game time, but big training time, with a lot of work with Graham Jones, a lot of reviewing of his performances, and then putting work into action. The next step was to get him playing regularly, so that was the aim. And especially with us bringing in two strikers, the thought was that he could best continue his development on the football pitch, probably somewhere else. Obviously, it didn't happen, much to our relief now, because Johan picked up an injury and Will's been vitally important. We believe in his talents. He's quick, he's athletic, but he's also added, through his attitude to training, a better know-how and nous. What else did he have to say? On Spurs itself, it will be a really tough game against a team that is in form away from home. It's going to be a real challenge for us. Thomas Frank's teams are very aggressive off the ball, and they are very well organised. It's a good game for us, a tough game, but we look forward to it. And as far as the players are concerned, rising to the challenge, Craig Hope, I think it was mentioned, we've had 3 games on the trot. One in the Champions League, one in the Premier League, and now we've got one coming up in the Carabao Cup. Again, he asked the question of which one figures highest in Eddie's thing, which he, as usual, diverted manfully. But he said, as far as our players are concerned, they've got in a good groove and rhythm, knowing that this season will be all about playing and resting and then preparing again for the next game. We've got to do very limited training because of the number of games, but the different focuses are a good thing, and we want to stay in as many competitions as we can. Let me quickly have a look at the chats that we've had in so far. Queenie is saying, this was with regard to, he was asked about Walter Marder not getting the fouls that maybe a lot of us feel he should have been getting. And WWE is part of the Prem. He needs to get used to it. But Eddie seems a bit down in the dumps this morning, not his positive, buzzing self. I think you're right there, Bokey, actually. He didn't have the spring in his step that he's had for the last couple of pressers. I don't know, it might just be... No, I don't know, the weather's not that bad. Simon Yorkshire, good morning. It's nice to be able to see this live. I am usually working. Thanks for broadcasting it. I really want us to win the FA Cup this season, but would take this too. Thank you for that, Simon. Marco, as we've all said in the past on many occasions, these press conferences are cringe. The majority of those asking questions are so far in a certain place, it's unbelievable. Ask some questions that are worth asking. I would love somebody to ask him if we have seen 2 keepers on the bench for the last time ever. Says Simon, some of the journalists have often decided what they want to write and set up questions so Eddie says it for them to legitimise their point. Others actually ask questions so we learn something. And same, Eddie is great at this, always in control. That's as in deflecting awkward questions, shall we say. Meals Beast, all the way from Australia. As a current member of the Happy Clappers Union, I approve of this press conference. And Simon back again. We should all remember what Eddie achieved last season. After a difficult summer, he has earned the right to some patience, despite us all being frustrated this season at times. And Sheila's in saying, I love it when Eddie just laughs at Louise's questions. And Marco T is saying, Malik Chow, Milan fans said they did in their chats, they were saying we way overpaid for them, and he's certainly up to now, proving them wrong. So that's all of those chats up to now. Now, what else did Eddie have to say? Let me have a quick look here. Oh, well, Corey, thank you for telling me, super chat there, telling me that I was muted, yes. And Queenie did the same. Thank you, Queenie, for keeping me right. As you know, I'm not very good at this taking control stuff. What have we said so far? What notes did I make? Sven, not concussion. On the fixture challenge, the number of fixtures, I have to say we're really enjoying it. I love the different focuses that those competitions bring, the different challenges. I really love this competition, and I love preparing for football matches and managing games. So from my perspective, it's fine, and I think the players feel the same way. Now, don't forget, folks, at 10:30, you're going to be redirected to our brand new show, hosted by Jamie, with Simon and Hutch. And they are going to be asking the question, should we throw the Carabao Cup? Where does everybody stand on that one? Let them know in the comments to that video when you see it, when it comes up at 10:30. We've got some a little bit of transfer news coming up. Florian Plettenberg is saying that Man United and Newcastle are two of many top clubs closely monitoring the Elliot Anderson situation. I still think it's a bit early for us to be considering taking Elliot Anderson back. I think if we brought Elliot Anderson back, he would still have the same problem that he had. That was so he would not have developed the way he has developed had he still been at Newcastle. Personally, I still don't think he's good enough to get into our starting lineup. Fabulous to have on the bench, but then if we had him on the bench, if we buy him for to even, you could argue, fight for his place with J7, that knocks Maley further back in the pecking order, and so it goes on. So I think it's early yet. I would like to see Anderson coming back when he's proved he's a real top quality player, and we are in a position then to be able to buy him to replace an aging Bruno. Buy him in his prime to use, not with a potential sell-on value. That's the stature of club we need to become. Buying players not just as commodities to make money on so that they've got a sell-on value, but because they're good enough to play week in, week out in our first team. That's where I stand on that one. Simon, we definitely shouldn't throw the cup, but some rotation is wise. Give Ramsey a Sula, Murphy a spin, Alanga and Barnes could start. Well, that's massive. You're talking about changing 5 players there, and I think that massively weakens the team. And Marcus, exactly when, and he's scared to shoot just much of a muchness. Well, do you not think that's a bit of a sea change in mentality from Newcastle this season? Especially the second, I'm saying the second half, the last 4 or 5 games, I've noticed a much more willingness to shoot from distance than would done up till then, and I think it's fantastic. My argument, my anger a lot of the times had been when players have had the opportunity to shoot from the edge of the box and they still want to play tippy-tappy and try and walk the ball in instead of getting a shot off. When you get a shot off, anything can happen. Chaos reigns, and that's exactly what you want. Bruno's been very close a couple of times. He needs to practice his shooting. And by the way, Tonali as well has had opportunities. And when he's actually pulled the trigger, he's been wide of the mark and all. So they need to get some shooting practice in. And the other noticeable thing for me in the last couple of games is Gordon has finally started taking his man on the outside instead of on the inside. And that, again, is producing rewards. Right here. If we are looking to spend big on a midfielder, it needs to be... And, well, now here you go, Chris. I could not agree with you more. If I was going to go out and buy a midfielder now, I would buy Adam Wharton for CDM, and I would even offer Maley in part exchange, working on the same principle that hopefully Maley will develop the way Anderson developed. Maley will develop at Crystal Palace the way Anderson has developed at Forest, and then when the time comes, when Tonali's getting over the hill, then we'll pay big bucks to buy. Let's have some sort of buyback option anyway, and certainly sell-on clauses. But the good youngsters that we've had, that they aren't going to progress And okay, Bogey and the crew and his crew will argue that's because Eddie doesn't trust them sufficiently to give them first team game time. And I think that's, you know, you could say that it's a justifiable argument, but can you blame him? I don't know that I can blame him. But with regard to getting, if somebody was to offer me Wharton, and the price I've got to pay for that is losing Miley, then it's a no-brainer for me. I'm sorry. You know, I think Miley's fantastic. I think he's going to be fantastic. But I don't think he's going to progress here. And you can argue that could be down to Eddie's stubbornness and favouritism and every other word that's used negatively against him. But I just think that he goes out to win every game. And if he thinks putting a youngster in is going to prevent that happening, then he won't do it. And can you blame him when your job's on the line? Again, Buck and I were discussing that very point last night, and he said, if Eddie Howe is more concerned about keeping his own job than doing what's best for the club, then he's the wrong man in the job. But I would spin that on its head and saying that if introducing youngsters is costing us points or getting us knocked out of competitions, which are hindering massively our financial growth, which is what it's all about. We've said a million times, the teams that spend the most money get the most points in the Premier League. It's a straight line graph, any metric you want to look at. The more you spend on player salaries, the more points you get. And the only way you can have that money to spend on salaries is by being successful. And if introducing youngsters means that you aren't as successful, you aren't going to make as much money, and you're not going to be able to buy the players and pay the players what they need to get you the points in the Premier League. Who's this we got here? Simon, you agree on Wharton. We don't really have another six to rotate with Tonali. Well, my point is, if you bring in Wharton, that's I'm not bringing in Wharton to rotate with Tonali. I want to see Tonali further up the pitch, and Wharton gives you that option because he's good enough and he's got the recovery speed, and then you've got the ability to then rotate Miley with the two of them, because, you know, that one of them's going to get injured sooner or later. So get them in. But as I say, if it meant 21s are flying, they won again win, and the Korean is playing very, very well. The Korean is he started Park Soo-sung. He started brilliantly for us. I mean, he arguably, well, in fact, not arguably, he was the only highlight of our pre-season was his performance in Korea, and I was really, really looking forward to see him progress. But of course, he got injured. Now he appears now to be back from injury. He had that phenomenal assist in the under-20. Well, I don't know if you see if I can get that up for you. What a ball it was. Let me just see if I can get that up. When was it again? This was it. And we go there. There. Do. But so that's Park Soo Sung, and as I say, I think he could be the answer to all our prayers. But he's got to be given the chance, and as I say, he's just recovering from another assist last night against Crystal Palace, and he's just recovering from this injury. So I would expect to see him appearing regularly on the bench before the end of the season. I'll be disappointed if he doesn't. Very disappointed. Trolls us in. Here we go again, buying English that are way overpriced instead of buying in Europe and South America. So tired of this, to be honest. Yeah. Well, tried and tested. Playing occasionally younger players now and then brings out a star in them, and your team grows. That's what Man United did in Ferguson. Everybody goes on about Man United and the kids winning the Premier League. That, trust me, it's never happened before. It'll never happen again. Alex Ferguson was the luckiest man in the world in that those 5 stellar international footballers came through from the same youth squad. Beckham, Giggs, Butt, and the Nevilles. That will never happen again, that you get that many young'uns through at the same time. Now, what Ferguson did absolutely brilliantly was manage them and keep on top of them, keep them on the straight and narrow, because, again, they're all of that age. That's when we all discovered women and drink and everything goes to pot. And as Alan Shearer has said on numerous occasions, it's 90% attitude, 10% ability. And if you've got the attitude that Ferguson was able to instill in those players with the undoubted talent that they had, then obviously that's a recipe for greatness, which is what virtually they all achieved to varying degrees. So, yeah. There we go again. What was that one? Oh, yeah, we did that. 21s are flat yet, and the Koreans playing very well. So now, don't forget, folks, we are coming up to 10:21. At 10:30, you will be redirected to the premiere of our new show with Jamie and Hutch and Simon. And just to get everybody off to a good start, we've got the burning question of the day that they are asking, I'm not asking. Should we throw the Carabao Cup? Should we throw the Carabao Cup? Wow. Darren Lacey and Ross Wilson has a good eye on the South American market due to the links he's set up with Forest. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. If you want to have a sustainable club, you need to get youngsters coming in and get some minutes. Well, you say that, Truls. Here's the thing. The model right now appears to be you don't necessarily have youngsters coming through to play in your first team. Look at what Chelsea and Man City are doing. They are it's just a footballer, they're just footballer factories. They buy them young, develop them, sell them, and make money. Cole Palmer couldn't get a game for Man City. Look what he's doing at Chelsea. Tino Livramento couldn't get a game for City. The list is endless. But they made money on them. And that's what... Making money, having a football factory academy that you're making money from enables you then to spend money on the finished article. Instead of you having to do the development, you let somebody else do the development, and with the umpteen player, you sell half a dozen players for 20 million a piece. That gives you 120 million to go and buy a Caicedo or an Enzo, or whatever. And that's how Chelsea are able to do, because they're flogging youngsters, and a lot of the youngsters they're flogging with sell-on clauses as well, so that they're reaping the benefits then. Sheila, thank you very much, darling. Great job bringing us the presser, flying solo. Not something I enjoy doing particularly, but thank you anyway for that compliment. And thank you for the £2 super chat. Look at City, Arsenal. They let 1 to 2 players get some time on the pitch. Yeah, but let's look at Arsenal. Look at the players they've developed and then sold on. I mean, Fulham bought 2 of them. Smith Rowe. What do they call the striker? I can't remember. Anyway, Arsenal had a load of, who all had first team experience, by the way, but they proved when they were in the first team that they weren't going to do it, and so instead of that, Arsenal ended up selling them for 30-40 million. And using that combined 100 million to go out and buy your Jogarevs and so on. So it's horses for courses. And then the sell-on clauses, exactly. Yeah, well that's the point. Livramento wasn't it? No, Livramento was at Chelsea. He went from Chelsea to Southampton. And Chelsea got a chunk of the money we paid to Southampton. When I was saying Arsenal, I said Cole Palmer, Man City. Cole Palmer was in Man City's junior, under 21s. Played a couple of games for the first team. Then they sold him to Chelsea for 50 million. What a bargain that looks now. If he can get fit again, of course. And that's always a worry when a player gets injured for me. Will Wissa come back the same player? Will Livramento come back the same player? Will Hall come back the same player? And that was good news from the presser today, that Eddie was saying Lewis Hall is out of all the injured players, Lewis Hall is nearest, but tomorrow will come just a bit soon for him. He's got Livramento penciled in for the 22nd of, he said, Man City. Tino's aiming to be fit for Man City, which is the 22nd of November. So he's like 3 weeks off. And Wissa has been knocking about, we are told, for a week now. You know, there was even talk about him being on the bench on Saturday, but that didn't materialise. Look at City, Liverpool, Arsenal. They let 1 to 2 players go. They let 1-2 players get some time on the pitch. Yeah, they do. But their squads are much bigger than ours. Truls, yes, just made some fresh orange juice. That's it. Anyway, folks, look, it's 10:27. We're going to wrap up here. Hit the likes if you haven't already. I mean, we had, 400 watching and we haven't got 100 likes yet. However, folks, hit the likes. Get us to 100 likes at least. Share, subscribe, and hang around for the brand new show that's coming up next. I look forward to it myself. I can't wait because I haven't seen it yet. It's a premiere. And it's asking the question, should we throw the Carabao Cup? Well, I tell you what, I'll be in the comments. And we're going to love you and leave you. I think, what was the last thing he said? Of the rotational balance. This is Eddie. It's important for this game to make the right decision. We want to progress. The competition means a lot to us. We are current holders. We don't want to give that up easily. However, I have a squad. I need to try and get the balance right. There are players who need football. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, it's not good night, it's good morning. Well, good morning here, good night in Australia. And thank you for all our super chatters who were Corey in Australia, Queenie, God bless you, and Sheila, God bless you too. And we will see you. Hang about, you'll be redirected straight away to our new show, premiering right now. How are you, the lads?